POCATELLO, his team just had its best offensive performance in years, rewrote the school record books, and earned a much-needed win. Yet, Phenicie wasn't smiling. Not yet. Idaho State's first-year head coach has always been quick to turn his focus to the next opponent shortly after a win or a loss. Game planning for Montana State may be less stressful following the Bengals' 59-30 offensive eruption against Portland State on Saturday at Holt Arena. The win pulled ISU back to .500 on the season and re-established the team's vaunted offense that was hushed in last week's 41-21 loss at Sacramento State. The Bengals, 4-4, 2-3 Big Sky Conference, avoided letting the visiting Vikings, 0-7, 0-4 Big Sky, earn their first win of the season on their sacred home turf. "Coaches never enjoy victories," Phenicie said. "I was up at 2 in the morning, laying there in bed, just like, we need this one. It's a relief. I'll probably smile about it after the season. I'm worried about Montana State right now." Idaho State racked up 691 yards of offense and concocted its highest scoring output against a Division I opponent since scoring 59 points against Portland State in 1980. Mitch Geller's 97-yard touchdown catch is the new longest pass play in ISU and Holt Arena history, and the Bengals' 364 yards rushing surpassed their 355 yards from 4 weeks ago, a new single-game high since at least 2001. Ty Flanagan tied a school record with 4 rushing touchdowns, and Tanner Geller threw 3 touchdowns to pull into a tie for third in school history with 45 TD tosses in his career. Flanagan and James Madison both eclipsed 100 yards rushing, marking the first game multiple Bengal ball carriers crossed the century mark since 2014. ISU's offense clicked as well as it had all season, but still, the miscues were evident, at least for Phenicie. "It wasn't the prettiest," Phenicie said. "Lot of penalties. We need some more stops. Can't have turnovers on offense, and there's a lot to improve upon. We can always get better." The Bengals were penalized 7 times for 80 yards, but were outdone by ISU's 11 illegal plays. ISU's defense played improved, but still gave up 477 yards. ISU only had 1 turnover, but committed 5 fumbles and miscommunicated on multiple snaps. On some days, that would be enough to amount to a loss. But Saturday, ISU did enough right to counteract its mistakes. The Bengals scored on 5 consecutive drives in the first half to build a 31-16 halftime advantage. The offense scored 14 more points in the third quarter to take the game's largest lead at 45-16. The defense, faced with a last-minute quarterback switch, nabbed 1 interception and recovered a fumble. Portland State started freshman Jelani Eason at QB after trotting out senior Josh Kratt the last 3 games. Kratt, who has contributed at various positions in his Sioux career, started at wide receiver Saturday, making 3 catches for 30 yards. Eason entered the matchup averaging 5.9 yards per carry and 55.3 yards per game. ISU held the dual-threat signal caller to 34 yards rushing on 10 attempts. Phenicie said he first caught wind of the planned QB swap a few hours before kickoff. "You can't change anything game plan-wise all of a sudden," Phenicie said. "I thought they did a good job of containing that kid." Mitch Geller and Michael Dean both made highlight reel touchdown grabs. Geller's was a one-handed, 97-yard, second-quarter score, and Dean followed with a third-quarter catch that he bobbled mid-run and corralled before sprinting to the end zone for a 41-yard score. Geller caught 4 passes for a career-high 195 yards, and Dean added 5 receptions for 80 yards. Geller has at least 76 yards receiving and 1 touchdown in every game he's played this season except one, when he entered at the end of the Nevada game to help recover an onside kick. Dating back to last season's finale against Weber State, Geller has 35 catches for 928 yards and 9 touchdowns in his last 6 full games. The sophomore and former professional baseball pitcher has made a habit of snagging flashy one-handed grabs. Coach gets on us on one-handed catches, Geller said. It's just not something we practice. I didn't think I was going to get to the ball, so it's easier to stretch out with one hand instead of two. You can kind of get out further, and it kind of just landed in my hand. Flanagan and Madison shared featured back duties and combined to rush for 268 yards and 5 touchdowns on 44 carries. Madison picked up 160 yards and scored ISU's final touchdown. Flanagan added 108 yards and 4 short TD runs. Flanagan started the season as ISU's go-to back before an injury sidelined him for 2 weeks. In that time, Madison got his shot to shine and gives the Bengals 2 viable options in their ground attack. They ran with an attitude today, Phenicie said. It was awesome. Bengals quarterback Tanner Geller completed 14 of 23 passes for 327 yards and 3 scores, upping his streak of passes thrown without an interception to 142. The redshirt junior is tied with Mike Macherek for third on ISU's career TD list. Macherek quarterbacked the Bengals to the 1981 1AA National Championship. Geller avoided being sacked Saturday, a refreshing sight, after going down 6 times against Sac State. Geller and the Bengals entered Saturday's game last in the Big Sky with 29 sacks against them this season. Portland State entered ranked second to last with 4 sacks on opposing QBs. ISU played without star offensive lineman Skylar Phillips for the second week in a row. We challenged them pretty good this week after last week's performance, Phenicie said. The kids responded on both sides of the ball. ISU's first play from scrimmage on Saturday was a bad snap that went through the end zone for a safety. Phenicie's late-night horrors were coming true. But the Bengals bounced back, rediscovered their groove and sent Portland State home still in search of a win. It's okay to smile, Coach. We knew we needed to get this win, Flanagan said. It was just all in the plan for us. We felt like we prepared enough to get this win.